So today I'm going to show you how to make pikelets. Now, in Australia they're slightly different, they're more like pancakes, and over here I suppose they are as well. But they're a little bit crumpet-like as well, and a little bit drop scone. So it's drop scone, crumpet, pancake, that's why they call it pikelets. There's nothing to do with all the others. Now, in the bowl, I've got strong flour and plain flour. Over on the hob, I've just warmed up a little bit of milk. I've also got some sugar, which I'm going to add straight in, and some fast action yeast. Now, there's two different rises with this. The initial dough has the yeast in to give it a little bit of air, so you need to prove that. Then you add your water, a little bit of salt and bicarb into the mix. Now this is where it's similar to a crumpet, which slackens it down a bit, and then it begins to bubble. At that point, you then put it on a hot plate and then you make your pikelets. But to start with, you get your initial dough up and running. Give that a little bit of a mix together. Then add your milk straight in. Give that a mix together, and you'll see it forms together fairly quick. Give it a go with a spoon. Because it's warm milk, it'll activate fairly quick. So get this dough going. Give it a little bit of a pummel in the bowl. Now this will grow. Certainly within half an hour with warm milk in there, it'll activate quite quickly and begin to grow. Happy with that? So you have your dough here, which is beautiful and soft, quite stiff. We're going to cover that, leave that for around half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, get a bit of air into it. Now this is the dough. You can see it's growing quite light. It's got milk in there, so it's really going to puff it up, and all these little bubbles, it shows you it's a very active dough. Now, it's got a lot of yeast in this, which is why it's gone like that. At this stage, I'm going to slacken that down a bit. I've got my water, I've got my salt, and I've got my bicarb, which is all going to go, nearly all, going to go in here. Give this a mix. And this is where it's similar to a crumpet, because a crumpet batter is basically activated with the baking powder. So initially it's got air in it, so it's got the flavour in it from the yeast itself. But then now with the bicarb in there, breaking this dough down, making a batter, this will become really active, and you'll start to see the bubbles in it. Once you start to see the bubbles erupting into it, then it's time to stick it on the hot plate and begin to make your pikelets. Get your whisk in there, break it up. The smell in there is amazing. That's come from the fermentation from that yeast. It's coming together now. So it's breaking down the initial dough because you've added water to it and it slackens it off a bit like a batter. Take your time with this. It takes about 5-10 minutes just to smooth it out. Getting there now. What I'm looking for is to mix it all in so it's all become one and non-lumpy, which is what we've got there now. So it's slightly thicker than a pancake batter. And I'm happy with that. Now what I want to do, I'm going to leave this alone now. Once it starts bubbling quite actively, and it will do sort of within 20 minutes, get your hot plate or your pan in there and start to get it medium to high on heat, because we're going to put a load of this in and start to make our pikelets. So we've got some nice bubbles appearing on the top. Now we've got the pan nice and warm as well. Little bit of oil on there. And just take a little spoonful, drop it in. I'll do 2 or 3 on here. You see the bubbles, you're forcing the growth, you're forcing the bubbles in there to rise, which is why you're getting these little pop. And once they pop, rather than filling in, they're actually leaving it open, so you end up with a little gap on the top. But you can see how much they're puffing up as well on the pan. So what's basically happening here is the bicarb is creating carbon dioxide, which is trying to force up a bubble and burst the bubble. But because the pikelet's baking, it's solidifying. So the bubble's not filling up again with liquid. It's leaving a hole and a crater like a crumpet. And it's doing exactly the same thing with the pikelet.
What are you looking for?
Just having a look at the colour underneath. It's got a nice caramel at the moment underneath. You can see that gorgeous browning on the top. Leave them to cook. So they're going to be cooking underneath as well, sealing those air pockets. They're very light and fluffy. They'll taste amazing, but these go great for breakfast or even with yogurt and loads of fruit, you know. So it's taken about 3-4 minutes on both sides. It's moving quite nicely. That'll almost be done. I had one there that sort of caught when I flipped it, but these two are pretty good. Have a quick look underneath. Really happy with them. They're beautiful and light. And these are my pikelets. All I need to do now is make some bacon and get some maple syrup. But actually the beauty of these, you can chill these down, keep them in the fridge. When you want to warm them up, pop them in the toaster. They taste amazing. They come straight back to life. Now, I hope you enjoy making these, and if you do enjoy making these pikelets, there are plenty more recipes on the Paul Hollywood Easy Bakes channel. Click subscribe, click like, and get baking. Where's that bacon?